The next contestant at tonight's International Speech Contest is you. There's giving an icebreaker speech, and then there's competing at a contest. Some of the principles, though, remain the same. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. The objective of today's topic in our training is to show you some tips and techniques to be better prepared to compete at a speech contest, as well as how to squash down the nerves that occur when you're getting ready for a speech contest. First, let me start with sharing a story about the first speech contest I ever attended. This happened to be about 30 days after I had joined Toastmasters, and it was the International Speech Contest for the area. I was so excited to go to this contest. I went to the contest, and there were about 80 fellow Toastmasters in the room. Some individuals that were Toastmasters that I never knew were Toastmasters, that were colleagues and friends in other settings. So in lots of ways, it was like old home week. There was a great energy and there was a great excitement as everybody was getting ready to listen to the competitors. As each competitor gave their speech, they each were fascinating and incredible and had this palatable energy that you could just digest. I took out my scorecard and I looked at all the different criteria that each competitor was being judged on, and I tried to pick my favorite or my winner. At the end of the evening, as the winners were picked, I knew I was hooked, and I knew that competing in a speech contest would be in my future. When you're competing for a speech contest or giving any type of speech, as I mentioned earlier, the principles remain the same. You first want to write out your entire speech, because that is critical to creating the most well-formed and most well-organized speech that you possibly can. As you lay out your speech, you need to have an opening, a nice body, and last but not least, an awesome close. You also want to interject energy into that speech. You want to speak about things that you're passionate about and have some stories to relate to that. When you make a point, you want to tell a story. For instance, when I was writing out my speech topic for the International Speech Contest, I realized that the objective of my speech was about forgiveness and the need to forgive others. As I thought about the stories in my life and ways that I've had to forgive, the most poignant was one that had to do with my husband and a time that we struggled in our marriage. As I laid out this story, I realized that I really needed to get buy-in from both my husband and my children, because this story didn't just impact me, but it impacted my entire family. And it was important for me to know that as I would compete and share this very personal subject in public, that we were okay with that as a family. But those stories are what gives the speech the impact. As you lay out your speech, a tip that I have found helpful for me is to actually record the speech on my phone. As I record it on my phone, I then listen to it. And as I listen to it, I'm able to memorize it. We all have different learning styles, and my learning style happens to be auditory. This helps me memorize my speech. The next step for my practice with the speech, and you must practice, practice, practice. Very critical to continue to practice giving your speeches so that you feel comfortable and you're warm and authentic. As I practice in front of a mirror so that I can see what my facial expressions are doing. I also want to choreograph my body movements about what it is I want to interject in that speech so that I can give it life and flight. As speech day comes closer, it's hard sometimes to not have the wiggles that are going on inside. As Mr. Mike Thorne likes to recommend, that speaking at a speech contest is like going to a whole new high school. You can basically be anybody you want to be as you're giving that speech. It's an opportunity to really put it out there. One of the ways that I help pat down my nerves is I get a great run or a great workout in the morning. This helps me meditate upon the things that I'm getting ready for. Before that, I make sure that I get a good night's rest so that I'm prepared, I'm fresh, I feel confident, and I eat whole, clean foods. These are all different things and tips for me that helps me be able to put on the best speech face that I possibly can. But probably the most important tip that I've realized for me is that when I speak, my goal is to speak as if I'm giving a gift. The reason I do that is if I focus on the gift that I'm giving you, the audience, then I don't think so much about myself anymore. And I relax a lot more, and it becomes much more fun. At the end of the day, much more authentic. I would encourage you to sign up for the next speech contest. Don't let it frighten you away. There are criteria that you need to be familiar with. You need to read that criteria. As you submit your application to speak, you will also attest that all the content that you're speaking is original. And you also, in order to be eligible to speak for the International Speech Contest, you must have given 6 speeches in Toastmasters organization and be in good standing. As the next speech contest rolls around, I hope that you'll be up on that sign-up page because you have a gift. We all have a gift that we can share with one another. Speaking in a speech contest gives us an opportunity to grow professionally and in our Toastmasters career. And when we stretch ourselves, we succeed because we are making progress. And when we progress, we succeed at our goals. I look forward to hearing an inspiring and uplifting and funny speech from you at our next speech contest. Mr. Toastmaster.